Hi, everybody. This is Pastor Susan, and welcome to another day of devotions. As this week we are considering the invitation of Jesus to a life of transformation. And I'm bouncing back. Yesterday we were in John's Gospel. I'm bouncing back to the Sermon on the Mount in chapter 5 of Matthew's Gospel. As we are thinking about the power of, and I don't know how to pronounce it, Ptochos. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just saying. It's a Greek word. So anyway, so as we know, we've talked about this before a lot, that Greek words have a hard way of being translated into English sometimes. And so there are two very different words that are used in the Greek that are translated in English as poor. Okay, Poor. One of them is, and I think these are really fascinating to consider. One of them is penes, Penes, and that is someone who has nothing to spare. And so poor in this sense would be like somebody that is living paycheck to paycheck. They just don't have any extra. They have just enough to get by, but nothing more than that. No, nothing to spare. The other, which is in our text today in Matthew's Gospel, is the Greek word that Ptochos, which describes somebody who has nothing at all, like a family who is starving to death. I mean, I think about those who are coming for pantry food in the day. They don't have anything, or they don't have a shower, and so they come to our shower ministry. Somebody who's in desperate need, and they're starving. So, translated this way, and I think this is going to help us to think about our text today from Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, as we talk about blessed are the poor in spirit. You remember we talked about that a couple of days ago. Blessed are the poor in spirit. So let's think about it based on the translation that I just shared with you on Ptochose. So translated directly, then, we hear this: Blessed are those who are starving to death spiritually. Blessed are those who are starving to death spiritually, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What? The Message Bible says it like this: You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. It might have even been translated, you're blessed when you've hit rock bottom. We hear that from people who've been, in addiction, and they just come to a place where they realize that they are at the bottom and they can do nothing but go, look up. The New English Bible says, Blessed are those who know their need for God. And I love that. Because those who recognize their absolute need for God are not dependent on their own circumstances, right? They are ones who are ready to receive God's blessings. Now, why is that important? Why is that important? Because as long as you and I don't understand our absolute need for God, like we're starving for it, we often are not open to receiving what God has for us. Sometimes it's when you get to the bottom that you really have the transformation that God has for your life and for mine. And we know this is true, but how hard is it for many of us who are living our lives, who have some sense of stability, who really sometimes don't really recognize our ultimate, genuine, absolute need for God, just like somebody who is starving to death needs food. So here's your prayer ponderings for today. How do you measure worldly success? Do you measure it by how much money you have, or how many things you have, or how many children you have? How do you measure worldly success? And how do you measure spiritual success? And then a second question. Are you starving to death spiritually? Why or why not? Sometimes I have to be very, very honest that I am not starving enough for God. So may you in your life see where you are, gauge where you are. Ask God to give you that spiritual hunger where you're just starving to know more. And know that God is there to grant you great blessings as you do. As I said before, all of the Beatitudes are built upon this very first one, to know our need for God. Maybe so in your life, maybe so in my life, so that we can live the life abundant that Jesus came to give. Amen and amen.